匹はポーカーフェイス気づかれたくはないから距離にして数センチ回り道して笑顔狙ってる密かなエストラ
Hello everyone. Today we'll be unboxing another figurine for the week. Here we have is a figure from the manufacturer's FuRyu. A figurine part of their NEX line is a 1/7 scale PVC figure of the character Yaotome Urushi from the series Soredemo Ayumu wa Yosetekuru, or When Will Ayumu Make His Move? As always, before we take the figurine out of its packaging, just in case you didn't know, Soredemo Ayumu wa Yosetekuru, or When Will Ayumu Make His Move, was originally a webcomic published with a different name, Shogi no Yatsu, in 2018, then officially serialized in Kodansha's weekly shonen magazine by the mangaka Yamamoto Souichirou, who's also worked on other series like Karakai Jouzu no Tagaki-san in 2012, Fudatsuki no Kyoko-chan in 2013, Kunoichi Tsubaki no Mune no Uchi in 2018, and others. The series has gotten an anime adaptation going by the same name, Soredemo Ayumu wa Yosetekuru, in 2022, consisting of 12 episodes by Studio Silver Link. So here we have is Urushi's box rotating in 360. So without holding you guys back, let's just take the character out of her packaging and see how she looks.
任せて作るんだ運命って強い決意からまるで世界で二人だけゲームの中にいるような
So here we have is Yaotome straight out of her packaging, and as you can see here, it is wrapped with protective plastic, protecting the figurine from any paint damages or any scratches. So it doesn't really come with much swappable parts besides that little handbag or messenger bag. So let's just remove all of this and see how the figurine looks. So here we have is an instructions guide. So as you can see here, it actually is double-sided, and this side here, as I'm showing, is actually both in Mandarin or simplified Chinese with English text. And at the back portion here is the original Japanese text, because I think these are obviously, marketed in Japan, so you're obviously going to have a Japanese side to it. I do notice there's a little bit more info here, so if you are able to read Japanese, that's like, I'm showing you here the little bit of text that you can read. But it is actually quite a simplistic assembly guide, so there's nothing really too, difficult. There's a stand, the base, the extra swappable hand part, and that's it. So let's just move on to the actual figurine. So here we have is the figurine's base, and it's actually quite simplistic, nothing really too, over the top. At the bottom here we do get is a little bit of information, such as the mangaka's name on it. And again, as I stated earlier, there's not really too much to show. You do see is the little insert hole here on this middle section portion there, and it's a purple rather than a white or a black base, which is, I guess, is unique. A bit translucent, but it's not of a glossy finish, but you can kind of see there's a little bit of texture on the base, so it's a little bit rugged or rough. And I noticed that actually by the holes there's two lines, which I don't know if that's a crack or that's the base, but it's not too much of an issue. I mean, maybe it is for some if you do get it, or maybe this is just mine, but it's not really much to show you. It's just a a typical base. So let's just move on to the next, or should I say the main figurine. So here we have is Urushi Yaotome's actual figurine. So by this close-up shot here, it's not the best painted. You do see the little insert pegs here are actually a little bit, it looks like it's a little bit cut. You can kind of see the bottom of the shoe here. It doesn't have that much detail. It's just, you know, a flat surface, which it could be because we're not going to be seeing that, so it's not really too much of an issue. But the paint job around the shoe isn't the best quality. You can kind of see it looks a little bit roughly painted. Again, this is an old figurine, so I'm not going to be expecting like to be really good. Well, I think it was a year ago or so maybe I expected a little bit more, but you could kind of see the shoe, or the little area here is not painted good. I mean, it's passable from a distance, it looks nice, but seeing it up close like this and on my camera, it doesn't really look that good. So here, going from her, she does have long socks, which are okay. They look decently painted, a lot better than what we saw with the shoe area there. Or maybe it's just a black plastic they put around it, so it's not really, you know, going to be painted on. Or maybe it was. You see here, there's not too much detail, but on this shoe, there's actually a lot of detail compared to the other shoe, which, as you can see here from close-up shot, it actually is quite detailed, a lot better painted from the other shoe. But again, from, as you see from the top portion, it actually is almost exactly the same as the other shoe. There's not too much, you know, detailed painting. There is a nice little crease here by this sock though, so that's cool. We have is a knee bend here because she's in a little bit of a posture, and you do see they did sculpt her underwear here, just like the past FuRyu figurines I've unboxed, the Tenny Toes. They didn't have a hip sculpt, but this one does come with a hip sculpt, so you do see she does have a sculpted underwear, which, you know, I can do the best to kind of show you guys up close, but there is actually a little bit of detail on it. You do see there's a little bit of creases by it, but it's not really something that you're gonna be staring the whole time. But it's kind of a nice touch. It gives it more of a realistic vibe, and I know someone might say it's a little bit of a pervy thing to have, but I think it's more realistic to have actual, like, a sculpted hip area, because, you know, you have legs. And I've noticed that the skirt here is actually translucent. It's not that noticeable because of the black color, but if you actually, well, in person, I can see it's a little bit translucent, where you do see a little bit of the leg sculpt on the top portion here, but it's only because the light's hitting it. But since the camera doesn't really capture it that good, it just looks like it's a plain black, so you could kind of see it a little, but the skirt is translucent, which is quite unique little touch there. And the sculpt work looks actually pretty nice. It does feel, since they added a little bit of wavy to it, the skirt, it gives it a little bit more of a dynamic look. And they did put a lot of creases on it. You can kind of see from this angle where you see the skirt's going underneath, or the shirt is overlapping the skirt, where it actually gives it a little bit more detail than just being a plain flat skirt. The paintwork here looks a lot better than what we saw in the shoe area. Her little sailor uniform looks well painted. The white outline here by her sleeve here doesn't look that good. So this hand sculpt is actually swappable. So this is the one that comes without the handbag that she has, which you do see her nails are painted a little bit of a different color tone from her skin, which is a great touch. But you do see here that her sleeve has a bit of creases, which is actually quite detailed. The back portion here is a little bit hard to see because of this top portion, but you do see there is creases at the back, which gives it a lot more, you know, detail than what we get from the bottom half of it. Yeah, you guys already know. Again, more crease lines around here by her sleeve, and here we have her little, I'm guessing it's a little peace sign. I would assume it'd probably be like somewhere where you actually place like a little shogi piece, but it kind of reminds me of y'all know Fleming, his little hand gesture. It kind of looks like that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look it up, Fleming's little hand gesture. But she has painted fingernails, which is quite almost like the other hand. and her little twin tails here are actually bendable, but or should I say flexible, but don't really be bending it because it kind of feels like you could snap this. And here is her facial sculpt here, which I think honestly this portion is actually the best painted and actually looks really nice. Here we have is her side profile where you see her ear, and here's the other side where you see her right ear. And you do have is the typical, you know, mangaka style with the big forehead from, I apologize, the big forehead, which is pretty funny. And I also noticed that there's actually a full teeth sculpt in her mouth, which looks a little bit weird because you don't really see that in figurines. You mainly just see like the front teeth and that's it, but it's not too much of a bother. But it actually looks really nicely painted when it comes to her eyes. They add in the eyebrows and it actually looks really nice. The hair is detailed more at the bottom portion of it, but it kind of falls flat from the top section of the hair where you only could see one little line there, and again it kind of falls flat, so there's not too much detail on the hair. I could kind of see them, there's like a little bit of a paint work there to like represent like a little bit more hair, but it kind of does fall flat from the top portion rather than the sides where it looks more detailed. It's overall a really nice little figurine, and again, it isn't the best painted in some sections, you know, the shoe portion, but the skirt, her sleeves, and I guess you could say her socks are decently and nicely painted and sculpted. But honestly, I feel like they could have done a little bit more work with it. Let's just add this to the base and move on to the next part. So here we have is her swappable hand sculpt, which is a little bit weird because you normally would rather have her just with the handbag being placed onto her hand sculpt. But I guess maybe the handbag was a little bit too heavy, so they decided to sculpt another hand, glue it onto the handbag. I guess it is what it is. And the sculpt work here looks, you know, pretty nice, but again, you do see them in some areas where it starts to fall. Like the zipper here is not actually the best painted. You could see it's a little bit fading in some areas with the zipper, but it's not really you're gonna be staring at the messenger bag or the bag from the top portion because she has it a little bit slanted sideways. But again, this is actually a pretty nice touch to add because it kind of feels like the figurine doesn't really have much. And you do see from this area, I do gotta say though, the sculpt work on the bag looks really dynamic, so there's that. But again, I kind of feel like this could already been on the figurine rather than being a swappable like hand sculpt. And it does feel a little bit delicate from where it's holding onto it, so do be careful, and really when you connect it to the figurine, connect it from the hand and not from the bag, because I feel like you can snap it. Her fingernails are painted pink, same thing as her, you know, regular hand sculpt, which is pretty nice. Besides that, there's not too much detail besides like the creases around the bag, which it's okay. Again, I feel like this should have already been on the figurine rather than it being separate, so they might have their reasons. So let's just connect this to the figurine and I guess complete the figurine. So this ear is an extra piece that does come in the box. So if you were wondering, yes, this is supposed to go with the bag that the figurine does come. And as you can see here, no, you cannot remove this little acrylic plastic on this little metal beam. I think it is glued onto it, so you can't separate all these individually. It does twist a little, but I do caution, don't really do that much because I feel like you could snap it and break it. And it does feel a little bit fragile, so do handle this with care if you do get the figurine. But as you can see here, it's supposed to go with the bag, but I don't know if it came out a lot smaller or maybe the bag's a little bit tilted upwards. I don't really think this piece is really necessary as long as the bag doesn't fall to the side. Alright guys, so that was FuRyu's NEX 1/7 scale PVC figure of the character Yaotome Urushi from the series Soredemo Ayumu wa Yosetekuru, or When Will Ayumu Make His Move? So all in all, I gotta say, is a pretty decent figurine. It isn't the best. There's some areas where they could have done a little bit of a better work, you know, such as the bag. I feel like it could have been painted a little bit better, and the shoe portion could have been maybe painted a little bit better, but that could be just me being a little bit nitpicky. They are like the arm sleeves, like the little wrist areas, they're also painted a little bit dull, but I think overall the figurine is of a nice quality. This isn't the only figurine of the character. There is another one which I'll be showing you guys here on the picture here. That one's a little bit more, it feels a little bit more anime accurate, while this one here feels stylized in, you know, FuRyu style of figurine, which I think both of them look really nice, but I went with this one rather than the other one. So overall, if you have not checked out the series, I highly recommend it. It's a really cute watch, and I think the other mangaka's other mangas are also really nice as well. So I'm gonna end it here, guys. So I did want to notify you guys, this kind of applies mostly for people here in the States, that it is Thanksgiving coming up, but this message I think goes for anyone who watches on the channel. I am thankful for you guys for always coming and supporting the videos that I put out. Truly, I am really thankful for it. In my personal, maybe I shouldn't mention too much, but in my personal life, I feel like no one really cares for the things, these, you know, anime stuff. I try to tell them about it, but they kind of don't really care. But you guys on this channel that come support it, really, I really appreciate it, because I feel this is the only place I can talk about this. So I thank you guys for, well, if you made it this far into the video, really thank you. What's the saying in Japanese? Hontou ni arigato. So, anyways, as I always say, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll leave you guys off with figurine rotating in 360. Always support the original creators of the series. Thank you guys for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Really, thank you guys, and hopefully you have a safe Thanksgiving.
「例えば1メートル」 私は50センチ